Unlocking mental resilience. You are early on in your transformation. What are some of the major hitting points that someone needs to hear to make a transformation more intentional, more effective, and more sustainable? So, first and foremost, for me, one of the most important aspects I see over and over again that just harms someone's resilience, they get caught up in diets. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to do carnivore to hit a goal. I'm going to do keto to hit a goal. I'm going to do 75 hard to hit a goal. I'm going to do vegan to hit. I really don't care what it is. You set the standard day one that you're only doing this to hit some arbitrary goal to then somehow stop. And I promise you, that type of mentality will lead you to this destructive, limiting resilience over and over and over again. Because guess what? What's going to happen is, regardless of if you hit your goal the first time or not, if you get caught up in this hyper-fixation of the how, I'm going to do keto, I'm going to do keto, I'm going to do carnivore, I'm going to do carnivore, I'm going to do 75 hard, you are going to mess it up. There will be times where you fall short. And if your whole mentality is stuck up in that, you will get caught up in hyper-fixating on hyper-restriction, then hitting a wall, then failing, feeling like a piece of shit, and then having no resilience because you actually don't know what you're doing, and then you gain all the weight back, lose all your progress, so on and so forth. So I'm just hitting this running straight up. I just honestly ran with it. John, your kind of perspective, what are some of that unlocking mental resilience and day one in your journey? Where did you see some of the biggest mental mistakes that led to the process being a lot harder than it needed to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, if I could just circle back to kind of what you just touched on, I think one of the big things is obviously the limiting of belief. When we start off on these weight loss journeys, like David said, we jump on diets, right? And I've always said this, since as far as I can remember on this journey, like the key word in diet is die. It's going to end eventually. And when you get on a diet, you're looking for the quickest way out. Like, I don't care what this diet is that you started. You may think it's the greatest thing ever. Eventually, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to say, I'm fucking sick of this. When is this going to stop? And when you make that mental switch to it being a lifestyle change, again, the root of that is life. It's forever. So when you stop putting that limiting belief on yourself, I think that's what makes things a little bit better. You stop stressing out over the little things a lot less. I know for me, when I started this journey, I became so afraid of carbs, right? So I just wouldn't touch them. It didn't matter if it was bread, rice, whatever. Like it just stay away from it. And I remember Christmas time having a piece of bread and hating myself because I had a small piece of Italian bread. And that was so destructive because what did that do for me? It made me mad. It upset me, right? So now you're already in this mental downward spiral that you're mad at yourself. And what is the first thing we do when we get emotional? For a lot of us on this journey, we eat. We're going to grab the closest thing. And then guess what? We binge. And then we regret. And do you see this pattern that's happening? Every time you kind of white knuckle this and you restrain yourself and you limit yourself, what happens? You push yourself a little further back. Every single time. You have to break through those mental hurdles and you have to kind of play the cards, And I hate that because I don't like to portray like we're dealt a bad hand, right? I think that we're all kind of just playing the same game, trying to get to the same goal. How we get there is all a little bit different. But when you start limiting and you start negatively talking about you all of the time, it's gonna stop you. You're the only one holding you back.
It's super funny you kind of say that because I think starting this off with what we're talking about right now, mental resilience. I'm going to come into some conversations about bootstrap, about raising your standards, about having these. But I think, contrary to popular belief, if you're considerably overweight, you probably have a really good discipline standard. Quite a few people do. The problem is They create too much too much rigidity, too much discipline, too much resilience. They hyper-fixate on this white knuckle,
Yep.
and they think that that's normal, and they have to go harder, and it's actually sometimes the quite opposite. So knowing that if you're day one in this journey and you're building mental resilience, you're building toughness, I want you to question just for a second, is it reasonable?
Right.
Am I setting reasonable standards? Are there friends and family around me that do not have nearly the significant weight issue that I do, that do things that I'm overly restricting on that they don't have to do? You may have to, because again, this victim mentality, like John kind of made comment to when it comes to the cards you were dealt, this idea that, oh, I'm a victim of my circumstances and I have to be 10 times more rigid and restrictive than everyone else because my cards. It's not really true. It's actually quite the opposite. You are being unfairly restrictive and rigid on yourself, thinking that is necessary, which leads you to this binge and purge cycle. And so this may sound crazy. Everyone's like, okay, tools and tactics and how to be more structured, more disciplined. This is crazy, but you may be too restrictive. You may be too resilient, and you're not being fair to yourself. Absolutely. And so, but John, let's make a pivot. Early on in your transformation, tell me a story of a situation, because it is unfair and life happens. What's something for yourself where you had to experience a unfortunate situation that could have really derailed you, but you figured out a way through?
Oh God, I think that's my whole entire life, David.
Come on, you just have like, hold on. I think your next surgery is free, right? Because you've had like, I don't know, 12 of them.
Fact. Yeah.
So like you have like a little stamp card.
It's like
and
a oil
like
change card. Yeah, exactly. God, off the top of my head, probably coming off the bodybuilding show and going directly into spine surgery. That really derailed me because I was what I thought to be the fittest that I was ever in my life, when in all actuality, I was definitely the weakest, because you spend that whole time kind of starving yourself, and then you re-carb load and you step on stage and you look good, and then you reverse diet, and then from reverse dieting right into an operating room, from an operating room into recovery, from recovery into 3 to 6 months of rehab. Like, it was just so much all at once, and it threw me for a loop, and I had to have, I mean, this wasn't the first time, but I had to have that conversation with myself and be like, all right, you have two options here. It's either stay focused on the task at hand, get through what's going on, what you can control, or throw yourself a pity party and put yourself weeks or months, back further than you should be. When you're in that situation, when you're in that situation and you're just coming off a bodybuilding show, it's hard enough not to automatically gain 40 pounds. You've put that mixed with, rehabbing a back injury, spine surgery, where you're not moving around much at all. You're bored out of your mind. You're an emotional mess. And all of that stuff just makes you want to sit there and eat your feelings away. You know what I mean? So that's where the mental resilience comes into play. That's where you look yourself in the eye and you say, okay, well, what type of person are you? That's when you can be a little hard on yourself. But the whole bootstrap and white knuckling through just a random Tuesday because your boss brought donuts to your job, and you feel like, if I have a little piece of a Boston cream donut, that's gonna totally derail me for the next 6 months.
77 pounds.
Yeah, that's the mindset that we have to put behind us.
Yep. No, 100%. And like, I mean, obviously you've had more extreme events more than most. I'll kind of put it from a lens of early on. So like, guys, you're day one and you're trying to build this mental resilience. You're trying to build this better discipline. Mm-hmm. Here's a frame for you. This is something that really helped me immensely with discipline and consistency, because for me, 3 years to drop 200 pounds. Let's just be real. 3 years.
Became
pretty low on the totem pole of execution. There's people that have lost 200 pounds in friggin' 12 months. So like, I mean, I'm proud of my transformation. It was consistent. It wasn't crazy. But one of the reasons why I've been so disciplined for a decade is because I set the standard relatively early. I'm going to have indulgence meals. I'm going to fuck up. It is inevitable.
Right.
And the frame that changed my whole perspective on consistency, and this is a tool that I highly recommend you guys looking into, is most people believe that having a binge, having an indulgence, falling off plan, missing a workout is a bad situation. And it's actually one of the most empowering positions you can be in, because more than not, you're going to be caught up in situations where you do fall off track.
Absolutely.
And it's building consistency and just finding a rhythm and fixating on the rhythm is actually easy. Once you're in momentum, it's not hard. The problem is when situations arise that you have to get back on the horse. And so for me, looking at the lens of every single time you have an indulgence meal, every time you have an off-plan meal, every time you miss a workout, you allow yourself to believe that's just a rep. That's a discipline rep. That is doing a curl.
Yep.
Every time you mess up, the next day you get right back on the routine as always. That's a discipline rep. Because this idea you're going to be perfect every single day, it's not true. But what is true is your ability to have a mistake and then just go back to routine as always. That is where consistency and sustainability comes from. It doesn't come from going friggin' 90 days without an indulgence meal. It doesn't go from going 75 days with two workouts every single day. It comes from how many times you can, like, effectively, when you fall off track, get right back on like nothing happened. That mental shift will help immensely with consistency.
Right. It's not about it's not how hard you can hit it. It's how many times you can get hit and keep going, because you don't get into the position. I'll speak for myself. You don't get into the position of, being on this journey for 8 years, sustaining a 300-pound weight loss for 8 years and not having any hiccups. Like it wasn't all perfect. It wasn't all cookie cutter. It wasn't all rainbows and sunshines. Like there was a lot of
sunshine and rainbows.
Rainbows and sunshine.
Say it right or don't say it at all.
All right. Well, you know what?
Sunshine and rainbows. I started saying that.
Sunshine.
No yin and yang. It's say it right or don't say it at all.
You know what? What? Lucky Charms. Anyway,
I'm trying to be more New York. What do you want from me?
You know what, David? You're doing a really good job. But anyway, thank you for ruining my train of thought, you absolute piece of shit. So you don't get to this position without having the hiccups, without having the derailments. Like, to me, it's all teaching points, right? It's all lessons in the grand scheme of things. Like, I didn't get here because I was perfect. I got here because I was imperfect. I got here because I allowed myself to fuck up. I allowed myself to fail, and I was able to look myself in the eye and say, okay, you messed up today. And then once today is over, tomorrow you get back to it. And sometimes those derailments last more than a day. 8 years out, guys, 300 pounds down. What's today? Today is Tuesday, May 28th. I have not lifted a single weight heavier than 10 pounds since December 21st of 2023. It is May 28th, 2024. I have spent more time in the hospital in the last 4 months than I have probably in the last 8 years. And that's just the name of the game. But guess what? I am probably right now sitting before you the most mentally clear I've been in a long time. I am the lowest weight that I've been in a long time. And I am just focusing on healing my body and getting back to the things that I enjoy, because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy having a routine. But you know what? When your routine gets destroyed, that's when you find out the person that you truly are. That's why mental resilience is so important, because things are going to happen. Holidays are going to happen. Birthdays are going to happen. Babies will be born and people will die. And how you react to those things is what's going to set you up for the next chapter of your life.
100%. And then kind of going off that day one mentality is you need to have a structural understanding of what your transformation looks like. And it's more than just a weight loss goal.
Yeah.
It's more than just a nutritional plan. It's more than just a fitness routine. You need to really sit down with yourself and ask yourself this question. What does the outcome look like? Like how do I know when I won? And don't tell me it's just, oh, well, I hit 225. Everything's sunshine and rainbows when I hit 225. Sunshine and rainbows, 225. Because like if that's all you're doing this for, when you hit there, it's over. And what we've come to realize in a decade, 18 years between the two of us, it's the person you become, it's the lifestyle you bring, it's the person you develop yourself into that really matters. And so as you're starting off day one, how do you build resilience? You look at what you're actually trying to accomplish. And I hope it's more than just some arbitrary friggin' weight number, 220. I hope there's some actual depth and value.
Right.
Because guess what? This transformation is way more than just a number on the scale. Being able to go on roller coasters, to be able to hike the mountains, to be able to ski. I just set up my next ski trip with my dad yesterday, or actually it was this morning. And so this has been a thing I've been doing with my dad for the last like 7-8 years now, actually a decade. And I did it when I was a sophomore, junior, and I was probably 370, 400 at my heaviest when I skied last in Utah. I couldn't make it till 10 a.m. I'd ski for an hour and a half, and I was done. And it wasn't, and I'll be real, skiing in the mountains at 400 pounds, even though it was impressive that I could even do it, it wasn't that fun.
No.
Because my feet hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurt. I was terrified to do anything because I was like, if I go down, I'm going down hard.
Absolutely.
And so, but now down 200 pounds for a decade, going skiing in Utah is so much fun. I can literally go all day like it's nothing. That's what this transformation's about. That's like, so you have to look at the quality of life and the person you're becoming more than just the outcome itself. Because if the person you're becoming and the quality of life you're bringing isn't the majority of what you're focusing on, it's just numb.
Yeah.
Like it just one hiccup, you're gonna quit.
You're gonna collapse.
Because like there's no emotional value to that.
Correct. At all. I think if your weight loss journey is just about an arbitrational number, you've already lost. Because you're not living for anything. You know, once you figure out, because you will figure it out. Once you figure out that you're living for just a number, it's not going to mean anything to you anymore. Because especially, say you have that whole mindset and you do get to that number, guess what? You're going to get to that number and you're not going to be satisfied. You're not 220, 185, whatever it is. It's not going to feel the way that you think it's going to feel. But when you come in with the intent of, I want to be able to bend over and tie my shoes, or I want to be able to shop at Macy's again, or whatever, fit in my car. Those things, those tangible things that you could touch, feel, look at, and hold, and you're able to accomplish those things. That, my friend, that's the sweet spot, and that's what's going to keep you going. It's not, I want to be 185. It's not, I want to bench 225. That's cool stuff. I think that's awesome, and I think that those are really good milestones to hit and goals to have. But to sit there and be like, I want to be able to get down on the floor and play with my kid, or I want to be able to go to the park, or I want to be able to hike with my wife, or whatever.
300.
That's way different.
300.
Way different.
Yeah, all I know is on my gravestone, I wanted to say David Roden, 1991 dash whenever I pass away.
300.
David
300.
got down to 8.2% body fat, competed in 2 bodybuilding shows, and was one studly stud muffin. That's because that's what life's about.
Right. It's not going to say John Arpino lost 300 pounds. It could.
Bro, if you put a before and after picture on your stone, I don't know.
I would.
I don't know.
I probably would. I think I should. Actually, now that you
The
said it.
QR codes, actually, those QR codes are coming back. People, have you seen that?
I think by the time we actually meet our demise, I just feel like their cemetery thing is not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not in our lifetime.
You're in New York. There's no other space.
No, there is no space. Yeah, I mean, there is absolutely no space. But definitely, I forgot whose podcast that was just recently on. But definitely within the next 100 years, we really do have to figure out what we're doing with bodies, because we're running out of room.
SpaceX. All right, we're back. No, I mean, no, it's 100% true because, like, again, the emotional intensity that's going to help your resilience is not going to be some arbitrary number.
Right.
It's not going to be some. It's truly the person you're becoming and the value you see. And some of this may come down to, I remember vividly when I was like, I can't remember which book I was reading or who I learned it from. I'll be honest, but I remember writing down on a piece of paper and putting down David Roden on one side and putting Fit D-Rock on the other. God, I'm some narcissistic asshole that uses his own Instagram handle as his alter ego.
I mean, so am I.
And I remember writing down like who is the person that David is that I don't like, inconsistent, blank, doesn't follow through, all these kind of just limiting things that I don't want to be known for, and who is Fit D-Rock going to be? Disciplined, high standards, passionate and powerful in each moment, and like literally becoming the person I want to be. Not just David Roden, the keto guy. There's just no emotional intensity to that. There's none. Like, good luck. Like, that just doesn't work. But like the person you're becoming and really defining that to yourself early on, of like taking your current characteristics that you don't like,
Right.
and making a new you. Because that's what's happening. You are becoming a whole new you. Don't kid yourself. This is not just losing 100 pounds. There are pieces of you that will change forever. You're not going to resent your 400-pound self.
No.
But there are pieces of you that will change forever. And that's fine. Like, that's part of life, is evolution and transformation and evolving into a better and more enhanced version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, on a teaching point there, a fun one, I always love this story. I mean, I've told it on here before. Some people have heard, some people not. So this was post-excess skin removal surgeries. So like I was like 4 years into my transformation at this point. Had lost around 200 pounds in body fat. I was down to about 220. And then I went through my first intentional bulk. I went from 220 over about a year and a half, from 220, about a year, 220 to 270, like 4. Of like, I'm going to do an intentional bulk. I'm going to try to put on some muscle. I got fluffy.
Right.
Some would call fat. I'm accepting of that. I was like 30-some% body fat. As some people will learn, when you do your first intentional bulk, it may get away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It happens. But I told myself that when I started my bulk, in the next 2 years, I was going to compete in my first bodybuilding show. And right after the peak of the bulk, I sat on that bulk for a little too long, and I tore my knee playing pickup basketball, tore my PCL. But I told myself that
300.
I was going to do a bodybuilding show that next year. So what do most people do in unfortunate situations? No one can control when you have a surgery. No one can control when you blow out a knee. No one can control when you get in a car accident. But what you can control is how you decide to interpret and give value and give definition to that situation.
Absolutely.
What do most people do? Oh, I tore my knee. This sucks. It's not fair. Why did God do this to me? Well, now I'm going to go find some pizza. I'm going to get some cake and ice cream. And you know what? This isn't fair. And so because this isn't fair, let me go find some food to indulge to make the situation even worse. You're just making the situation, which is unfortunate, 10 times worse. Your impact and decision of what you do post an unfortunate situation will play way bigger of a quality of your life than the unfortunate situation as it is.
Absolutely.
Because guess what I do? I go, you know what? I can't control this, but I decided I got a year. I'm doing this show. And I couldn't do the cardio I was planning on doing, because obviously I'd have to go through knee rehab and all this kind of stuff. I controlled my nutrition. I really enhanced that. I really locked in the upper body workouts the best way I could. My calves got really small. They're still not where they should be, but that's life. And in a matter of like literally, I tore my knee on Halloween playing pickup. A year later, November like 28th was the competition. So like 362 days later, I was 212 and around 12 to 13% body fat. I lost 60 pounds in a year after tearing my PCL.
Yeah.
Most people would just say, oh, woe's me, and blow up to 310, 320. No. That's part of this game. You know what? This is a bootstrap. you're gonna have unfortunate situations that happen. It's your ability to frame it in a way that empowers you. That is the way you're gonna build consistency.
Absolutely. Because again, there is an emotional piece to all of this. Like, if you don't think that there's an emotional end to this journey, then you started the wrong journey. Like, again, the number is arbitrary. You're never going to feel the number. The number has no feeling. And it's the actions that you're able to do. It's the events that you're able to live. That's the stuff that's going to matter. Because again, say we all get to live to be 101. On our 101st birthday, we're never going to look back, look at our partner next to us and be like, the best I ever felt was at 192. No, that's my best memory, was being 192 pounds. There's not an old person alive that is going to tell you a single weight that they were the happiest at. But they're going to tell you memories, and they're going to tell you milestones, and they're going to tell you all sorts of cool stories, but not a single fucking story is going to involve a weight.
You know, when I just stepped on that scale, I was 17 years old.
Right.
And I just saw myself, and I was 117. I just was at the peak of my health. I was at the peak of my...
It just didn't get better than that moment.
It's so funny because, like, we're all about learning how to lose 100+ pounds and everything we talk about. But then when you actually hear us talk, it's like, guys, stop worrying about the numbers scale.
Oh, yeah. Well, but that's how you do it, bud.
100%. It's like, once again, it's taking people where they're at. Hey, I know you want this to be about losing 100+ pounds, and we're going to start there, but it's way deeper than that. It's your relationship with yourself. It's your relationship with food. It's
well, I think it really, I mean, if you haven't realized it yet, anybody who's listening to this podcast, if you need to lose 100 pounds or more, ask yourself, does the number matter? Up until this moment? No.
No. It didn't matter to you right till now.
Right.
So why should it matter to you at the end goal?
Right. Again, and once you figure out that the number doesn't matter, that's when it gets easier. Because the whole time 100%. Up until right now, that's what you're probably worried about.
Yep. And now my angle is with the catch-22 there, and that's purely just trying to make sure people understand context. Like, obviously, if you're in day one and you need to lose 100+ pounds,
again,
having the number on the scale as one of your metrics to track progress, totally acceptable.
Absolutely.
Like, no one's saying throw away the scale. No one's saying the scale is useless. I've heard some freaking of these like intuitive eating registered dietitians that are like, the scale is useless. No, the scale's
important. Yeah, for sure.
But this hyper obsession and like this idea that you have to be some arbitrary number. I remember actually, did I talk about? I was on a TikTok live last week with this guy from the mountains of West Virginia type vibe. Did I talk about this?
No.
So he's in my comment section. He sounded like a troll heckler, but I was like, you know what? Screw it. He's like, hey, can I hop on this live with you? I was like, sure, why not? So we started having a conversation because he had made some comments about how I was misrepresenting how to lose 100+ pounds and blah, 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 calories and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And this guy had weight loss surgery.
Okay.
And he had lost like 180 or 200 pounds. He's 6'156".
Again.
Yeah. 6'156". We're having a conversation, and originally, I will admit, when I let him in live, I had a little bit of like a preconceived bias that he was going to be some trolly, but we ended up having a really good conversation, talked for like 30 minutes, and I was trying to help him through some things, because I just talking about the idea of, hey, insulin is not that important to focus on when it comes to fat loss, when it comes compared to calories and protein, and all, and he just didn't understand. And so I helped walk him through it, and because it wasn't that he didn't agree with most of what I said, but sometimes he didn't like how I said it, I guess.
Okay.
But it was just one of these things where he hyper-fixated on BMI and he hyper-fixated the number on the scale. And when he told me, so he'd lost 150 whatever pounds, and he was currently 6'1", 156, and he was telling me he was eating between 12 and 1,400 calories a day. I was like, bro,
Again,
I promise you, like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like, you're 6-foot male at 156 pounds. Like, even if your blood work is currently, and you're telling me you're averaging 12 to 1,400 calories a day still, I'm like, bro, I promise you, like, this hyper obsession of being this number. Because then he was like, well, my BMI says I'm good. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
The day I start to trust BMI is the day you put a bullet in the back of my head.
well, and I'm just sitting there going, bro, BMI doesn't equate for the probably 10 to 15 pounds of excess skin you have on your body,
Right.
too. So, like, so it's just, I promise you, you're under eating, and it's going to lead to a multitude of issues. And I'm trying in this most empathetic way to be like, bro, I get it. Like, and it was tough because here's someone that didn't have weight loss surgery trying to tell someone who had weight loss surgery, hey, I'm not saying weight loss surgery was a bad choice, but these are some of the issues that fall into this pattern where all of a sudden you have weight loss surgery and you're not hungry, so you barely eat.
Right.
And I'm like, you're doing great that you're prioritizing protein. Like, I'm glad you're doing that. But you're this far out, you're at this weight, and you're still averaging 12 to 1,400 calories a day as a 6-foot male. That's an issue. And any person would say so. And like, I'm trying as much as possible to go, bro, this 156 goal of yours, this isn't good. Like, this is not good.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
And I love doing my TikTok lives because it's like, I'm helping this person. And I had like freaking 500 people live at the time too. It was pretty wild. But yeah, oh my gosh. And he meant well. He was, at the end of it, we had a great conversation. I actually followed him because we had a good conversation. But
Oh God, you followed him. Thank God.
I mean, if I follow you, it's kind of a big deal. I'm just saying. If Fit D-Rock follows you on Instagram or TikTok, it's kind of a big deal.
Oh, it's legendary. Absolutely.
It's like when
legendary.
Dwayne Johnson follows me.
Fact.
Dwayne Johnson follows me, it's a big deal. He follows me.
The day Dwayne Johnson follows me is the day I retire from everything. I just want to let you all know. It's the day I go quiet. Because I've done it all. There's nothing to do after that.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing left.
My life is talk about having all of your goals, all your visions.
That's it.
Dwayne Johnson follows me on Instagram. I'm gonna die a happy man.
That's
It's
it.
over. I got nothing left.
There's nothing
There's
left.
no higher peak I can travel.
That's it.
Mount Kilimanjaro's got nothing on me.
Nothing. Everest, you could keep it. Whatever. Don't care. 75 hard, 97 soft, whatever you want. I don't care.
Dwayne Johnson followed me. That's funny. All right, one more round of stories of different situations that people deal with that kind of help break you through some of these. And think of something early or relatively early.
I think that first round of holidays,
Yeah.
when you're just
Yep.
starting out, like that's a huge making and breaking point for a lot of people. Even like that first birthday, it's like, do I have a piece of cake or not? And I understand both sides of the fence. You know, like there's the one side that'll be like, hey, your birthday only comes around one day every year. Enjoy the piece of cake. There's the other, the other part that's like time and place for everything. You've had the cake, X amount of years. You could take a year off and see what happens. Like, so there's going to be things that happen, like major holidays and weddings and whatnot, and that could derail you. But the derailment is only going to come with the option of, do I let this affect me negatively, or do I let this push me further in a positive light? And I think that's what the mental resilience really is. It's all a decision, right? And again, it's one that's going to take time for you to make. I'm not saying that you're going to make this decision in the first 3 to 6 months. Hell, it could take you over a year and a half. I was scared of carbs for 2+ years, petrified. This whole journey is a learning experience. And every stone you turn is going to teach you a lesson. And it's up to you to take those important lessons and string them together and make your life. Was that super philosophical? Absolutely. But one day you're going to listen to that and you're going to think, something's going to happen in your life. You're going to think of that line right there. And you're going to be like, fuck, he was right. I promise.
It's like me and the Darren Hardy and the compound effect statement.
Right.
Like, No, I mean, honestly, and it goes really well in line with that is kind of like Tony Robbins and the triad and that whole learning physiology focused language and learning that helped me immensely. And the idea of framing,
Right.
and it's
Again,
super important, where mental resilience comes in from my mind, with what lens do you come at constructive criticism from?
Mm-hmm.
When you're
Again,
dealing with criticizing some of your current behaviors, mindset, all this kind of stuff, that's not inherently bad.
Right.
It's actually quite empowering. The problem is,
again,
is your lens a dismissive, belittling, judgmental lens, or are you having a compassionate, empowering, positive lens? Meaning, when you do mess up, are you telling yourself, wow, David, you're a piece of shit. Why can't you be consistent? You've never been consistent. You're such a freaking loser.
Right.
You're such a, what are you doing? Is it that? Or is it, you know what, David? You messed up. 100%. Should have done it. It happened. What do I need to learn from this? Where were my mistakes?
Right.
How can I take this situation, which there's no question, I can't tolerate this to continue, but what do I need to learn from it? Was I too restrictive? Was I doing this? Did I put myself in a position where I wasn't ready? Like, what did I do? Coming from an empowering, passionate, empathetic position, you can actually start to navigate the boat and make change.
Right.
But if every single day you treat yourself like a piece of shit and you think you're going to be consistent, good luck.
And it's so easy to get caught up in that negative self-talk constantly, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. I'll let you know that, because something catastrophic could happen to you 5 years in, 8 years in, 7 years in, whatever, and it could throw you off your rocker for a little while, you know. And it's every action has a reaction, and you're going to learn over this journey how to react to certain things. And everything is a work in progress. You are a work in progress, and nothing on this journey is ever supposed to be perfect, ever. Again,
So honestly, as we kind of wrap up this episode of unlocking mental resilience, strategies, building,
again,
transformation and understanding, a couple of key points I want to backtrack on. Number one, it's a life, it's a journey, it's not a diet, it's not a single event.
Mm-hmm.
So just get that out of your repertoire right now. Like, it's just this is happening for the rest of your life, and the faster you understand that, and the more real you get there, the more the mistakes end up just being hiccups compared to derailments. And number two, build more empathy. The amount of people that you're trapped mentally and the resilience is coming from just because you treat yourself like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. If you're watching this podcast right now and you have a kid, or you have even friends, and you treated your friends, your family, and your loved ones like a lot of you treat yourself, would you want to listen to you? Would you respect you?
Also, one of the major takeaways that I'd like you to take from this podcast is, I want you to give yourself 3 things that you're actually going to live for on this journey, and them not be a number. If the answer is still a number on the scale, I want you to rewind and listen to this from the beginning.
100%. Yeah. What are those major emotional, experiential takeaways, values that actually,
Again,
you as a person, you want to be known for? Your experiences. If you want to hike Everest, by all means, I'm good. Actually, I just had a friend go to do top of Everest.
just do the top. He cheated. Again, helicopter to the top.
It was a girl, actually. She hiked the whole thing.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really dope.
Yeah. She just did it last week.
You want to know something? I would never
What?
want to do that. I don't care how fit I get.
It's like Iron Man. I have no desire.
No desire to do
Iron Man.
that. No.
If you have this overwhelming desire to do an Iron Man, by all means, have fun. I'm good.
Oh yeah, I did a Tough Mudder. It was cool. I mean, it's not an Iron Man, but it was still cool. But like climbing a mountain, Everett, like that, I don't know. That just doesn't do it for me, pal.
Yeah,
That's not me.
I could see myself doing Everest.
I'll catch you at the bar on the way down.
All right, beautiful people. Well, welcome to obviously the Your Best Self podcast. We're going to have to figure out and adjust how we're going to finish these podcasts. I think one of my favorite ways as we wrap this thing all up is remember, this is a you versus you game.
Mm-hmm.
John and I are not special. Every person that comes on this podcast is not special. We are just people who have gotten better by focusing on becoming better people for ourselves. And the faster you focus on you and stop focusing on others,
Right.
the better and a higher quality of life you will have.
Amen. Stop playing the comparison game.